6, 7, 6.
Hello and welcome along to episode 18 of the Tennis Asia podcast, and on this show we talk about Zheng Qinwen, beaten finalist in Wuhan but nevertheless with a spot in Riyadh sealed. A brief couple of notes on the Hangzhou Challenger, and we'll touch on some of the already started tournaments in Almaty, Ningbo, Osaka and beyond. And joining me is a man who can always combine serve and volley with decent cardio. It is Mr. Tennis Asia himself. Eddie, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, it's coming a bit later today, this podcast. A little bit of a delay for various reasons. But yeah, it's been an eventful Asian swing, and it's over now for the men, at least at the ATP level. Well, actually, no, sorry. The bulk of it's over. We've still got one ATP tournament going on in Asia right now. Yeah, and the women's, of course, is continuing in full flow, although the big tournaments are now over. But yeah.
Well, yeah, still plenty going on. As we said, tennis never stops. We will start, with the tournament that's already complete in Wuhan. Last week, the domain, of course, of Sabalenka. She's never lost a match there. She continued that form this year, getting a third straight win, taking her record to 17-0 in the Chinese city. On the Tennis Asia front, though, following on from her run to, a great run in Beijing, Zheng Qinwen went all the way to the final. Some tough games along the way, including a Chinese derby in the semis with Wang Jinyu. Talk us through Qinwen's week in Wuhan.
Right, yeah, so this was the WTA 1000 in Wuhan, coming in the week following the other big 1000 tournament in Beijing, which, of course, Zhang got to the semi-finals there. But this week, or just, I should say last week, she managed to go all the way to the final. And as you said, she ultimately lost, but it was, in the end, a very positive week for Zhang. I mean, obviously, previous week, she had been in the semi-finals in Beijing. So to go one step further, and that was the first semi-final she'd reached at this 1000 level. So yeah, to go one step further is definitely progress for her. And yeah, also the fact that she took on Aryna Sabalenka, the number one seed, and clearly the best player at the moment in that draw, and a player that she has had struggled with quite a lot before. I mean, obviously at the start of the year, you may remember that Zhang got to the final where she took on Sabalenka, Australian Open final, but it was a very one-sided affair, and Zhang was not really in it. And she's played her several times and quite struggled. So obviously she was playing here at home, and she's got more experience, and she has been improving in her game. And it was a question of whether can she really do something and make this competitive this time, because the previous matches, they haven't really been like that. And actually, in the end, she turned in a very good performance, and she impressed me, especially because, obviously she went down that in the first set 6-3.
And we were fearing the worst as that was happening.
Yeah, right. And then in the second set, she also actually was up a break, and then lost that break when she could have served out the set earlier on, but she still managed to claw it back eventually and took that second set 7-5 for Zhang. I was always going to be a bit concerned about how she would hold up, and obviously Sabalenka's got such amazing power, a flat hitter. It's going to be so effective on the quick courts like in Wuhan. I think Wuhan is one of the quickest on the whole tour. So, but of course Zhang has power herself. I think the issue for her is that maybe she has she's got a great backhand. On the forehand, it's a little bit more loopy, so it's maybe not as effective on these quicker courts as it could be. But then, I was worried that when Sabalenka's going to go big into that side, how she would handle it I felt like she was able to get a lot of balls back with interest, even when Sabalenka was really going big on that side. And so I felt that was positive. She was doing well in the rallies, and yeah, ultimately being able to take that second set. I mean, it tells you she was playing at a high level. And I think in the final set, yeah, she went down early breaks. She was down three
Mm.
love, and she did come back though to get one of those breaks back at the start. I think to bring it back to 3-2. Yeah, I think that particular point that she won then, yeah, was one of the points, certainly a
Right,
point
yeah.
of the tournament, possibly the point of the year on the WTA tour. Yeah, it was really great hitting from both players, and then a bit of cat and mouse. I mean, you had Zhang hitting a nice lob over Sabalenka that went onto the baseline. She chased it and got it back, but ultimately Zhang finished it off. And yeah, that was just a lot of excitement there and a great quality of tennis. It was nice for the fans in Wuhan. Obviously, this is the
Right.
first time that they've had this tournament in 5 years in Wuhan. So yeah, so nice for them to be able to see this. And this is Zhang. Her progress has been continuous. Slow and steady. I mean, maybe others would want it to be quicker, but I mean, if you look at her year so far, obviously having reached the final of the Australian Open and having won that Olympic gold medal, and obviously beating Swiatek along the way to do that,
Mm.
and now having reached a WTA 1000 final here, it bodes well for her. And of course, news just now that she'd actually withdrawn today from the 500 tournament that's continuing this week in China in Ningbo, but it's not a big deal because we got that news that Emma Navarro, who is I think eighth in the race, also withdrew from Ningbo earlier, and she's also withdrawn from Tokyo. I think Zheng is still
Mm.
on the list at the moment for Tokyo, which will be next week. But yeah, that means I think that Zhang Qinwen has now just about secured her spot at the WTA Finals, which will take place in November in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And obviously, that's a massive thing for her because she'll be with those top, 7 players in the world in that race, plus Barbara Krejcikova, who gets in because she was the winner of the Wimbledon this year. So
What is the criteria of that? It's not just having won a slam. I think it's winning a slam and being in the top 20 or something.
yeah, that's
It's
right. Yeah,
quite
so
confusing.
yeah, so it had, yeah. If the I guess if it was a player not within that top 8, but having been in the top 20 and won a slam, then
So
they
having been
give them.
okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, they have to be in the top 20 uh, when it comes to the cutoff. But I think, yeah, she should be. Yeah, Krejcikova should already be in there. And yeah, now that Zhang's in there, this means she's qualified for the WTA finals, and it's the first or the second time, I should say, that a Chinese player has done it after Lina, who of course
Right.
is a legend. So, and you have to say, she's hit good form in the latter half of this year, and perhaps it's a good time for her to be playing the WTA finals. It's perhaps, controversially, it's being held in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. I mean, we could talk a lot about
Real
why
tennis hotbed.
that is controversial, for the women's finals to be held there. But I mean, that's actually also, I have to say, it's in, Saudi Arabia. It's in Asia as well. It's the far west Asia, the opposite side
Yes.
from China. But yeah, obviously great for her to make that. And yeah, I mean, it's probably, she's going to be tired having played in Beijing and gone far, also in Wuhan. So yes, it obviously makes sense for her, I think, to withdraw,
Yeah.
given that she's probably secured, to withdraw from Ningbo. I mean, she's probably secured that spot. So yeah, I mean, great for her, and definitely it's going to be interesting to see how the end of the year goes.
And I'm sure Emma Navarro was the first one on the phone to congratulate Zheng on getting that spot. I know they're good pals. We might as well, as we've already mentioned Ningbo already, we might as well go on to talk about Ningbo, as it is quite an interesting tournament. Ningbo is one of these, one of the most massive cities in the world that most people have never heard of. It's just south of Shanghai, but it's got 9 million people in its own right.
Does it?
Quite a It looks like it's an amazing tennis centre as well, although it isn't covered. So I think there has been quite a few rain delays this week. First of all, not technically Tennis Asia purview, but we do have to mention that yesterday, and it was another rain delay game, Anna Kalinskaya and Priscilla Hon. Did you enjoy that game?
Yeah, that was an exciting match, to be honest. I mean, Kalinskaya in a bit of trouble, but ultimately
Hmm.
coming through in the end. Yeah, that was yeah, a good match. I mean, it was definitely an entertaining match. I mean, Kalinskaya though, she just has that little bit of extra quality. I mean, she should be, especially in that forehand, she hits so well. But Ningbo is a city, actually. I mean, I was just surprised when you said 9 million because I've actually been to Ningbo
Oh,
when I
really?
visited there briefly. When I was in I visited Shanghai. Yes, I had a
Right.
friend working at a university in Ningbo, so I actually only
Okay.
spent really time around there, and so I didn't really go into the city too, really that much. So, yeah, but they've got a 500 tournament here, and yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. You've also got Yuan Wei. She
Yeah.
just came through in
S-
straight sets
Straight
against
sets.
Tomljanovic, and she will take on Kalinskaya. That could be an interesting battle. Kalinskaya, struggled to get through that one. Perhaps it's time for Yuan to take advantage here. And yeah, that's going to be an interesting. I noticed that Ma Yeshin is there. She is in as a lucky loser. There's been a lot of lucky losers, I should say,
Right.
in this particular tournament. We've got one, two, three, four, five, six. Is that six lucky losers? And seven now because Zhang got replaced
Because of
by
Zheng, yeah.
Jacqueline Christian. Christian very lucky to get because she takes the place of Zhang. She gets a bye into the second round, although she will
Right.
take on Mukova, which is a tough draw. But yeah, so you've got Maya Shin, and she's going to have to take on Barbara Krejcikova. I doubt that she will get
Right.
through that one, but yeah, I mean that's
She's got a fellow Chinese, Yu Zhao Di, who was due to play uh, Alexandrova, who I think withdrew.
right. Yeah, yeah, she came through 6-2, 6-2. Yeah, but
Yeah.
then also we got Wang Jiu having come through her first match against Rakimova quite easily 6-2, 6-love, and she'll take on Paula Badoza. So that's going to be an interesting one for the home crowd. Putin is also through. So yeah, that's going to be interesting because yeah, Putin she might take on Kasatkina. Well, it's the winner of Kasatkina and Siniakova. I think that's still going on right now. I'm not sure of
Yeah.
the result. Yeah, so we've got that, and then of course we've also got another tournament taking place, 250 in Osaka, which is going on right now.
Yeah, Osaka is an interesting one. Obviously, Naomi Osaka was due to play, but didn't. She's now looking doubtful for Tokyo as well, by all accounts, and potentially, I guess, Hong Kong at the end of the month as well. Obviously, our sort of interest in Osaka took a bit of a hit when Uchijima lost her first round match. Eddie Shibahara as well, who we praised to the rooftops last week, also I think managed to get a grand total of 4 games off whoever she was playing, Kessler, I think it was. There was though there has now been a bit of a standout star as far as we're concerned in Osaka this week. She'll be our player of the week, which means no doubt she's going to go down to a humiliating defeat any moment now. But tell us about Ito I. She
Yeah,
has been playing pretty low level ITF tournaments up until this week, but wow, she's been a revelation.
yeah. So Aoi Ito, Ito is yeah obviously from Japan, and she actually came through quality. So she's, she didn't get a wild card, and she's come through, um, on her own merit. She came through the qualification in straight sets against the fourth seed, Emina Bektas, and then took out Ariana Hartono from set down. So yeah, she's got into the draw herself, and then she was drawn against Sophia Kenin, who came into the draw with a wild card. Now, of course, Sophia Kenin's had her struggles herself, really, but yeah, Ito took the first set 6-2, and yeah, I mean, she's got a really interesting style, and ultimately Kenin did come back and take that second set, and Kenin was actually up leading in the final set 4-love. And
Right.
yeah, let's be honest, it was a bit of a collapse from Kenin. But I mean, Ito's got the kind of style, though, that I think if you're starting to feel a little bit of the pressure, it's going to be really annoying. She's got a really unique
Mm.
style in that she rarely actually hits a full forehand. She hits a lot of slice on the forehand, and she does have a conventional backhand, so she can hit it fairly strong as well on that side. She hits a lot of moon balls as well, but surprisingly accurate moon balls, like right near the baseline. And it just takes a lot of players out of
It's
their
really
rhythm.
irritating. Yes.
Yeah, but then sometimes she'll hit. Yes, see that's the thing. Yeah, she'll on especially that backside she'll hit harder, and with pace and vary the angle. So you just kind of don't know what's coming, and yeah, it's really hard to get into a rhythm. And yeah, definitely Karen started to feel the pressure, and ultimately Ito came through. They took that final set 7-5 after Kenin had been up 4-love. So that's obviously quite something. But then you might think, well, is she
Job
going
done.
to,
Mm.
is she going to go any further? She maybe got lucky having to, face Kenin there, but then she came through and beat, the Italian eighth seed
Eight
Elisabetta
seed. Yeah.
Cocciaretto 6-4, 6-3, and yeah, it was really. I watched a good chunk of that, and it really was quite an excellent performance. I mean, I was quite, because it's one thing, because I actually first saw her from clips of the ITF event in Changwon here in Korea, and there's a clip of her actually on our IG account that you can
Mm.
find there. Clip of her playing in front of about 10 people, whatever, typical ITF event. I can't remember what level, it might have been a 35K, but yeah, I mean, you could tell she had that kind of style. But when I watched that, I was impressed with sort of like the accuracy she had, but she wasn't hitting much power, and I was thinking, well, how is this going to translate if she plays at a higher level? And I wasn't sure, but
Right.
clearly, it can work. I mean, she came through. Yeah, I mean, maybe actually against players that hit it bigger, it might actually benefit her a little bit, for that, and she can use their pace against them. I think what was surprising is like she would hit a moon ball as well, against Cocciaretto, deep moon ball, and then she'd come in and actually approach the net and like finish it off with a
Right.
volley. So she had good instincts on the court that was quite impressive, and even if you're hitting like slice forehands, that's one thing, but not to get it so accurate all the time, it was quite impressive. And yeah, it just like it kind of messes up their opponents' heads a little bit, because they're thinking now, what am I going to do here? And then
Mm.
you get those slow balls, and you're having to generate the pace yourself, and your timing's a bit off. And but then sometimes she'll step up and be aggressive. So I noticed that, yeah, because even on the forehand, when the ball went short, she would sometimes actually step up a bit, the pace on that forehand. So, yeah, but just an interesting style. I mean, because like normally nowadays, of course, in tennis we get big hitters from the baseline, and it's nice to have some players that have their own little style and stand out like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if she can, if we're going to see her more. I mean, of her ranking. I mean, after this win, I think it's up to about 160 or so.
Right.
That's a record for her, or her career high. But can she go further? It's going to be interesting. I mean, she's lucky in a way in that she's going to play a lucky loser in the quarterfinal, Eva Lees, who's a young German player who came through against Osorio and McCartney Kessler. So perhaps a chance, especially she's probably feeling quite comfortable here on home soil, and she's also, a bit of a
Well,
pressure off really, because she's already come through great in those
exceeded
first two matches.
expectations
Yeah.
already. I know that she played that tournament in Goyang actually here in Korea a few months ago. I think in Goyang they don't even have ball boys. I'm not sure if they call their own lines or not. I think they might have one line judge or something, but certainly big progress. We'll keep an eye on her. Hopefully, maybe even more matches in this tournament. And anything else to look out for so far in Osaka? I know Sarah Saito is through to the next round. Not sure about any of the others from this part of the world though.
Yeah, it's Sarah Saito is the only remaining Asian player in that draw. Yeah, she is the Japanese wild card. She is still a teenager, just 18 years of age. In fact, yeah, so she's only recently uh, turned 18
Hmm.
this month, back in the 3rd of October. So, yeah, clearly a lot of expectation on this young player. She's got a lot of talent. I mean, I believe that she was the number one or number two junior player, and she's actually already won a 100 title this year on the ITF circuit,
Hmm.
and reached the final of a 75 and a 50 at the start of the year. She lost that 75 final to Priscilla Hon, who we mentioned earlier. But yeah, obviously these are great results for a teenager to be getting. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, can she do it? She's got to face Evanesian, who has got, she's a tricky player herself. She's got some talent, so, and also young, up and coming. So Evanesian as well, who represented Russia and has now switched to Armenia. She represents Armenia now. But yeah, Sarah Saito. I should actually. I mean, Armenia technically in
Well,
Asia,
yes, okay.
but they actually play under the European Federation. I mean,
Right. Hmm.
yeah. So from that perspective, they're regarded as
So
European. But Sarah Saito, yeah, I mean, it would be great for her to be able to get the quarterfinals. I mean, any experience here at this age is great, and certainly one to look out for. But
nice. Some encouraging performances then. Let's shift across to the men. And as you
mhm.
said, the swing almost finished. There was a challenger in Hangzhou last week. I don't think that needs to detain us too much. Duckworth was the winner in Hangzhou last week. Jason Cheng getting to the semi-finals where Duckworth beat him before going on to win the final. Duckworth has gone on. I think he's gone on to Almaty as well. The 250 in Almaty. Tiafoe is the top seed. A smattering of Kazakhs in the draw, of course, as well. The Coleman coaster, though, derailed at the very first loop. And poor old Coleman Wong was an unwilling part of a bit of history as well, wasn't he? He went down in straight sets to the 17-year-old German wildcard Justin Engel, who was born in 2011. Sorry, 2007, which should be
Yeah,
illegal.
yeah, 2007. Wow. Okay. I mean, I didn't actually think about when he was born. Yeah, that's 2007. Yeah, just recently turned 17 in the 1st of October. So even younger than Sarah Saito. Justin
Mm.
Engel. Yeah, incredible, really. I mean, what a talent. Yeah, you got a feel for Coleman Wong because obviously this is an important stretch for him because he wanted
Yeah.
to. We've talked about it before in the podcast. He wants to reach those next gen finals, and he's still got a chance of it. But and he probably thought because he got in to this draw, he got into the ATP 250 by being one of the top next gen players. He's still only 20, and maybe he would have thought, I'm playing a wild card 17-year-old in the first round. This is my chance. But
Ranking points for
no,
me.
no, Engel is clearly got a lot of talent. And in the end, Wong lost 7-5, 6-4. Yeah, you got a feel for him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, to give an illustration of Engel's qualities, he went on to the next round and played, you know, seasoned professional in Francisco Cerundolo, and it was a
Mm.
tight match. Cerundolo won 6-4, 7-6, so Engel taking him to a tiebreak in
Cyber.
that
Mm.
second set. So certainly pretty interesting for German tennis fans. I mean, obviously you've had Zverev in recent years, but Zverev has never been able to break through and actually win a Grand Slam, although the expectation was big. Perhaps this guy could be one to do that. But obviously, this tournament is being held in Kazakhstan in Almaty. I think, yeah, last year the 250 in Kazakhstan was held in Astana, but it's been moved to Almaty. Still got some, yeah, Asian interest in that tournament because we have Bebet Zhukayev, who
Hmm.
is, yeah, up and coming player from the region, or sorry, from the country. He got in as a wild card and came through against Benjamin Hassan of Lebanon, who I think Hassan is only playing his fourth ATP tournament. But
Right.
for Zhugaev, he got that win 6-4, 6-1. Is quite dominant. He's got a great serve, and he was also returning well. And he's got a good test for him next because he has to play Tomasz Makac, who has just come through against the Kazakh player Timofey Skatov. And so, yeah, that's going to be very tough because obviously Makac, he's in top form. He
Right.
beat Carlos Alcaraz, right? And then he's got to the quarter final, wasn't it, in Shanghai. Also representing Kazakhstan, we've got Alexander Shevchenko, who will take on the qualifier Aslan Karatsev. So potentially you could have two Kazakh players in the quarterfinals. Um, I'm not fully expecting that. Perhaps Shevchenko could get through against Karatsev. Zhukayev to get over Makac would be very tough because Makac, he likes sort of these indoor conditions, the quicker conditions
Mm.
in general. So difficult. One thing I should mention as well is that also we had Bu Yunchalketi in qualification, and he failed to qualify,
Another
which
one who we jinxed by talking about how wonderful he is. I think Dan Evans has been causing our region all sorts of problems over in Almaty, actually.
yeah, right, because yeah, it was Boo. He did come through his first qualification match against Ilya Marchenko in straight sets, but then yeah, had to play Dan Evans to qualify, and that ended up being a tough match. Yeah, it went to a third set and a tight third set, but Dan Evans came through and won it 7-5. And I mean, it's nice for Dan Evans. He really needs these results to get back up.
Mm.
But yeah, obviously not great for Bui and Chalkete, who had a fantastic Asian swing, or in his own country. Uh, Two semi-final appearances and then a 250 and a 500. I mean, I would say obviously this is indoors, this tournament, so it's a little
Right.
bit different in terms of the way the conditions are. And I think, yeah, Boo has not done well on the indoor courts in his career so far. So, yeah, having said that, I mean, maybe if he gets a few more tournaments, he's going to be playing some of the ATP tournaments coming up. Maybe he can get some results together. But we should also say, yeah, Dan Evans, yeah, he took out Taro Daniel in that first round in straight sets.
It's-
So, yeah, he's taken a lot of the players out from this part of the world. And then you've got Zhang Zhizhen, unfortunately disappointing as well in that first round loss to Karatsev, who qualified. So, yeah, it's difficult out there on the tour.
it's-
Uh, but
it's-
uh, but
it
Boo,
is.
still more tournaments to come up. This is his early how you say, early days for him on this main tour, and
Right.
I'm sure he'll get his opportunities as well as Zhang and all these other guys. So yeah.
Okay, I think that rounds out Almaty. I want to take a brief trip. There are two tournaments going on in Europe. Not much Asian interest in either of them. There is one player in Stockholm, though. That is Sumit Nagal. He
Mm-hmm.
is playing the round of 32 and potentially a winnable first round tie for the right to play Dimitrov in the second round.
Yeah, well, it's not an easy tie really, or an easy draw, I would say. Quentin Alice, right?
Alice.
From France, is the opponent for Sumit Nagal. But certainly, of course, given the names in the draw, it could have been worse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Sumit Nagal, obviously from India. I mean, he hasn't had a great season, has he? Since
Mm.
for the latter half,
Since,
certainly.
since we bigged him up on about episode 4 or 5 of the podcast, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's on a.
there's a pattern
I mean,
emerging.
yeah, obviously lost in the Austrian Open. That's back in July, Pedro Martinez, and I think he's just had a
Mm.
string of losses since then. Um, Not always easy matches, but it's not going to be easy at this level. But perhaps we're looking forward to seeing if he can get a result there. But that's the only Asian player taking part remaining in that draw. But we've also got one Asian tournament on the men's side taking place in China. There's a
Mm.
Challenger tournament again. It's a second tournament in Shenzhen this year. Um, and we've got a lot of, well, it's a bit of a bit weaker field for than you might
Right.
expect for a 100 tournament. I mean, that's kind of maybe sort of expected after the Chinese, the ATP Tour swing. A lot of those players have gone off to Europe, or there's the sort of better players that could have played in, or they've gone, maybe to Almaty. But
Right.
you've got Arthur Cazot's the number one seed there, and the usual suspects like Adam Walton, and Mackie McDonald is in there. One thing that's caught my eye though was that we've got Yan Bai, or Bai Yan, from China, and he is 35 years of age, right?
Right.
But he's actually come through. Um, yeah, the first match against Shu of Taiwan in
Right.
3 sets. Shu was the 16th, and he came through in the second round against Sasikumar of India in straight sets. And he's got a bit of an opportunity here because in the quarterfinals he'll face the Georgian player Saba Pertseladze. So yeah, I mean Pertseladze obviously he's 23 and coming up, but obviously Bai's playing at home and he has an opportunity here. I don't think he's ever actually reached a challenger final. He's won four in doubles. Bai. I mean, obviously being 35, I think he didn't because we had the pandemic, and I think he got up to near what's his highest ranking? It was about 200 or so, right? But now he's
Oh,
back
okay.
up to around 250 or so in the rankings. Where is he now? Yeah, sorry, 280. Obviously, with this tournament, he has a little opportunity to go. Yeah, so I think it was like 2020, right? Yeah, obviously that's when tennis stopped. But he really didn't start playing against, fully until 2023, middle of last year. And then he's won like a bunch of ITF tournaments, and he's won four ITF tournaments this year. I think one in Japan and three in his own country in China. So yeah, it's interesting to see. This is obviously these tournaments. This particular tournament is a bit weaker than it normally would be as a 100 tournament. So it obviously presents opportunities for certain players to come in
Right.
and do something. So it'll be interesting to see if you can do something. Other Asian players in there, we've got Ramanathan of India. He beat the fourth seed in three tie breaks. That one, that was a long match in the first round. And Ryo Noguchi of Japan, he'll take on Maki McDonald, although I'm not particularly hopeful about for him getting a result there. But there's a few other Chinese players in there, Regalite and a qualifier Zhang. So certainly
Zhang, who's got
Regalite.
the top seed.
Huh? Oh yeah, he has
Zhang
to
will
play.
play Kazo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, not that easy for him. Regalite though has a bit more experience at this level, and perhaps he can do something. But yeah, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on by. And as far as all the Asian men's tournaments, I think that wraps it up there.
What's the prognosis on the next few weeks? We've got a couple of things to look out for. We're still looking forward, I think, to the Taiwan Challenger. I believe Chung Hyun is still
Right.
on the entry list for that one. We're not
Mm-hmm.
far away from the Seoul Challenger either. I think
Mm-hmm.
the entry list came out for that last week, and mm, Coleman
Yeah.
Wong is on it among others.
Yep. So Taipei 2 Challenger is next week, and yeah, that's going to be back looking pretty strong. Although I'm looking at the qualifying list, the cutoff there is like some players are ranked in the thousands. But the main list. I mean, you've got Vukic, Taro Daniel, Adam Walton, Diallo, Jason Singh, Coleman Wong, Maki McDonald, and Uchiyama. Pretty strong.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Good there. And then you've got Yosuke Watanuki, who is obviously coming back from injury, but he's a very strong player. And and yeah, you do have Chung Hyun, so he is confirmed he will be getting a wild card. He's on the posters for the tournament. They seem to be excited to have him. So I mean that's nice that they give him the wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wu Tung Lin, who of course won a challenger recently, he's the local player. Yeah, and you've got Ramaneth and you've got Benoit Paire. I think Benoit Paire's
Mm.
coming out to Asia, perhaps. Yeah, perhaps he's thinking maybe try my chance uh, with maybe a slightly weaker field, but I'm
Mm.
not sure how well that's going to work out. Because a lot of these players are not too bad, and then just looking at the list there, yeah. So it's going to be tricky, I think. Shimabukuro as well of Japan, and then you've got as I said before, Watanuki, very very strong player. He'll be unseeded, so that's
Mm.
definitely one that a lot of those guys will be wanting to avoid. And then yeah, you do have Seoul, very similar list there going for you. Alexander Blok of Belgium, the youngster. He is talented. Lee too as well, going to play in Seoul. We saw him give Alcaraz a very tough match at the US Open. He's definitely a good athlete. Lee too. Hong Sung Chan, he's going to be playing in Seoul. We haven't seen him much. I mean, I think he, along with Kwon, is going to be playing, going to the army, his
Right.
military service. Yeah, he won't be playing too much there. But Nicolas Moreno de Alboran, he is one that's entered Seoul that wasn't in Taipei. He's a player that's on the up. He's getting closer to the top 100. He is an American player, and he just recently got to the semi-final in Valencia and actually got to the final in Villena in Spain. So player in good form, and yeah, that'll be one to keep an eye on. And then obviously, yeah, Chung as well, Chung Hyun, he is apparently going to play Seoul as well. I mean, it's not really surprising, is it?
Right.
Yeah, because he's on the poster for it, so you'll expect that he
Oh, we
will.
have a poster for Seoul as well, do we?
Sorry, he was on the Seoul Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
They put like
Right,
a
right, right.
promotional thing with him on it, just a poster of him. So yeah, I mean he will be playing, and then
Let's hope they have better luck with the poster than the WTA event did last month with their poster. But
yeah, with all the seeds on the poster that all withdrew,
yeah.
those the top 10 players. Yeah, for one thing as well that caught my eye as well on the Seoul list is that we do have Nicolas Basilashvili as well
Mhm.
there. I don't know if he's going to play, but he's on the qualies list as well. And then going further, we've now had the Asian challenger in Matsuyama in Japan. That list is out, and you've got the usual suspects like Cohen Wong, Jason Zheng, etc. But we've also got Wu Yibing, who of course made waves in Shanghai, beat Jerry, and then gave Alcaraz a very tough match.
A good game, yeah.
But he's obviously on the comeback from injury, but he's using his protected ranking. He's got a protected ranking of 108. His actual ranking was 404 in the world. But if he can continue to play, you would imagine that he'd be getting further up the rankings pretty quickly, if he's healthy. And you would imagine he'd have a good chance to win that tournament. So I think, a lot of people will be interested in that tournament. I think it's only a Challenger 75 in Matsuyama, and it will be 4 consecutive Challenger tournaments in Japan during the month of November, I think. Yes. So, still at the end of this year, but there's a lot of interesting moments to be had.
Tennis never stops.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other business you want to touch on this week? I know we've got Hong Kong coming up on the women's side, which is looking like 1,000 draw at the moment. If everyone who is entered does actually make it to the start line.
We can talk about that. So obviously the Asian swing continues quite extensively on the WTA side in Asia. You've got a bunch of tournaments in Japan and China. So you've got that tournament in Hong Kong. For a 250, you have to say that the entry list is quite spectacular, because obviously the big announcement was that Naomi Osaka is expected to play. I know that she just had that injury, but she did sound hopeful that she'd be able to play even
in Tokyo.
Even in Tokyo. And probably should be able to play in Hong Kong. But you've got, other than Osaka, you've got names like Simona Halep, former world number 1, Katie Boulter, Leila Fernandez, Wang Xinyu, Emma Raducanu, Yuan Yue, and Wang Jiyu, and also Lulu Sun there. A pretty strong lineup for a 250, and that's great for the crowd in Hong Kong. That's going to be right at the end of this month and into November. So a nice way for the WTA.
Are you going?
No, I don't think I'm going to be doing it.
No.
It's the same week as the Seoul Challenger, so I'm probably I should be going to that. And obviously looking forward after that, the only thing for the WTA side is the WTA Finals in Riyadh. So all eyes will be on that, particularly, of course, for us, for Zheng. And then finally, in November, we've got the Billie Jean King Cup Finals in terms of Asian competition there. We've got Japan in there. So, that'll be interesting for...
Tennis never stops.
Right, exactly. It just doesn't stop, does it? So we can maybe talk about that later on near the time.
We will indeed. Plenty to get stuck into over the next weeks and months. Eddie, thank you very much for joining tonight, and enjoy what's left of Almaty, Ningbo, and the Challengers.
Thank you.
Six, 7, 6.